This is one of my web pages, CesarUSA.com. This one has a business card on it with a code that you can scan. The WhatsApp Colombian numbers, those are not American numbers, those are Colombian phone numbers. Here you can find links to multiple services. The purpose of this video is basically to provide a small short course about Spanish. I already made the Spanish version, but this time I'm gonna make the English version. Basically, I made it for people who speak Spanish and want to learn English, and now I'm gonna make the one for people who speak English and want to learn some Spanish. I'm gonna use the Alt tab to jump to the Microsoft Word document where I type some explanations. So it's a Spanish course, so it's Curso de Español en inglés. Some of my web pages, CesarUSA.com, USA.com, CesarUSA.com, CUSAIN, sorry, you can spell it out, CUSAINT.com, my channel, YouTube, CUSA space INT. But first of all, let's talk about geography a little bit. In Spanish, I did a longer version because there's a lot of people who are not familiar with geography, especially American and European. But this one, since Americans know their own geography, so it should be not necessary to be explaining American geography. So let me jump back to the website, the browser, and look for geography maps. Well, you know where you are. I mean, if you're American, you know where you're located at, in the north of the American continent. You know, Central America. I am actually making this video from Colombia, actually from Medellin, Colombia. If you are not familiar with that, we have tour guides who actually can show you around. This is actually showing the distance right now with some road damages from Medellin to Colombia. To Pereira, because there were some destruction because of the heavy rains. So there was some road damage, some collapsed pieces of mountains that fell onto the road. So we are getting back to the La Niña, meaning the girl, the child, female child, who is actually starting over again in Colombia. It's going to be raining for a few months until like May. Hopefully it's not going to repeat multiple times during the year. Bogota's next to it. Not next, but it's kind of level in location with Pereira, almost the same. Anyway, in regards to geography, I don't need to talk too much about it. I already explained history to the Spanish speakers, so I don't need to really go over geography with you folks, because you already speak English, but you probably want to become familiar with the Spanish language since you're watching this video. If you learn Spanish, you will be able to talk to people in Venezuela, Pereira, Ecuador, Peru, Bolivia, pretty much the whole South America, except for Suriname and Guyana, who they speak French. But Brazil speaks Brazilian. It's pretty large, but it's mainly populated in some areas, not the whole. It's a lot of those areas. Some other parts are not popular, or they are popular with hardly. So it's only a few locations where they have most of the populations. So it's pretty large, but most of the population is in a few areas. So, but the rest of the countries, most of them speak Spanish. And if you speak Spanish, you will be able to talk to Spaniards and some other places where they they know Spanish. If you learn Spanish, you will be able to understand some of the Italian because they are similar, and you will be able to understand some Portuguese because they are similar to Spanish. So, and even French. Some French is a little bit, not as much, similar to in some words to Spanish. I mean, if you know Spanish, you may capture a few words here and there from French. So then you're gonna gain a lot of um, understanding if you know Spanish. So it's worth it. I mean, United States is a lot of population nowadays that are bilingual. It's a really major skill for a lot of jobs, especially customer service jobs, where you will get an extra income if you know Spanish. Situation in the United States sometimes is getting a little bit difficult or very difficult in some parts, especially with the weather. There has been a lot of heavy rains in some parts of the United States, hurricanes, tornadoes, all kind of stuff. So hopefully it's not going to get worse and worse with as years pass because of the climate change. So hopefully it's not going to be so bad that some people are going to have to migrate to farther south. Some people are even migrating to Mexico because not just because of the weather, but because of the economy. Inflation is pretty heavy now, pretty strong. So some people are giving up on housing because it has become so expensive. So they are moving into Mexico and some other countries because it just becomes unaffordable for some people. So if you learn Spanish, you can actually live not only in South America, but you can also stay and live in some of the countries such as Mexico and so all of these speak Spanish. You know what I'm saying? Even Cuba, Puerto Rico, there's a lot of people speaking Spanish. So you are pretty much safe if you learn Spanish and move to another country where the main language is Spanish. Even San Diego, there's a lot of population that go from Mexico to San Diego. Texas, a lot of these areas, even Florida, all of these areas where a lot of people are speaking Spanish. So it's worth it if you don't know one or more languages, especially Spanish, English, hopefully some French, and even Chinese. So it's good to learn multiple languages. Pardon my throat. I have some sore throat. Let me go back to the little text that I had. Wait a second, I'll tab. I'm going to go to the course. Anyway, I was explaining in Spanish that there are some affirmative sentences. So I was doing it in Spanish to English. So I kept the same format, so hopefully you don't mind. So las oraciones afirmativas, affirmative sentences, they will be when you are affirming, you are saying something, such as my name is Cesar. In Spanish, you will have an accent in some words, such as in a tilde in my name. So, but in English there is no accent mark. There is no tilde, no accent mark in English. They call them a tilde in Spanish. So my name is, and then you put your name on it. Mi nombre es, and then you say your name. I was born, and you put your country. I was born in. Yo nací en Colombia. Yo nací en Estados Unidos. Yo nací en England or whatever country you were born in. There is a difference in regards to the adjective in English and Spanish. In English, you will put the adjective first and then the noun. So you would say white car, but in Spanish you will do it backwards. You will say the car first and then the adjective. So you will say car white. I have a car white. That's what you will say in Spanish. Yo tengo un carro blanco. So car and then white. Carro blanco. Yo tengo un carro blanco. And a blue motorcycle, you will say a motorcycle blue. It doesn't sound like a making sense to some English speakers, but actually I think it makes more sense to specify the object and then the adjective. That's the way they do it in Spanish. And in English, sometimes it's kind of hard to detect if it is plural or singular or even the gender. For example, a what car? Car is considered in Spanish is considered male. So you'll say un carro blanco. And female for a motorcycle. Don't tell me why they chose that, but a female motorcycle, we say una. And then motocicleta azul. So yo tengo un carro blanco y una motocicleta azul. Okay? So that's basically the affirmative sentences, oraciones afirmativas. Oraciones negativas, negative sentences. My name is not Cesar. The R in Spanish is sound harder than in English, so you will say Cesar, Cesar. But in English you will say they are a lot softer. So the Americas can be detected very easily because the pronouns they are lighter than in Spanish. Another example of a negative sentence: I do not have a black car. Yo no tengo un carro negro. So in English you use an auxiliary, do, but we don't use any auxiliaries like that. I don't say something like yo do not tengo, or something like that. We don't use these auxiliaries to create a sentence, negative or positive. Este carro no es mío. That car is not mine. Okay, so the mine will be mío. Ese carro no es mío. Okay, it's another sentence. Do not tell me what to do. The same thing, the auxiliary for the sentence. We will not, instead of saying do not, we just say no. So we'll say no me digas, do not tell me qué hacer, what to hacer, what to do. No me digas qué hacer. Again, the tilde. So some words will have a tilde, some like this a que with a tilde and a que without a tilde, depending on the context. Then the next type of sentence will be interrogative sentences, oraciones interrogativas. Remember the sound, interrogativas on the R. Is my name Cesar? Es mi nombre César? Do you see the sound in the E tilde? So more stressed. So it will be César, while in English it will be Cesar. Do I have a car? I will say you will not have the do on it. You will not have an auxiliary. You will just say, have I a car? You know what I'm saying? That's what you write in Spanish. Have I a car? So we'll have the verb first. You know, is my name Cesar. Anyway, does he have a car? This is third person. So does he have a car? So you will say tiene with the verb and then he. Sometimes we will have a tilde for the male on the E. So tiene él un carro. Female, there is not going to be a tilde for the female. So does she have a car? It will be tiene ella un carro, a car. For the it will be a male or female. So here we specify if it is male pet or male animal or female. So you will say, does he have a leash? So if it is say a male dog, you will say tiene él una correa. Tiene él una correa. If it is a female dog or pet, you will say tiene ella una correa. So we will actually specify which one is it, is the gender. If it is, does the dog have a leash? And then you will actually say, because now here we're not specifying, but here we don't know either. So if we don't know, and then you will have tiene el perro una correa. If it is a female, if we know that it's a female, then you will say la perra. La, for female, la, perra, una correa. Okay, so that would be for female dog. Did you have a car last year? It will not have an ending, the question marks do not have an ending dot in English. But in Spanish we do have a period after the question mark. But since it is an American word sentence, I will not have a period, but it will have one in Spanish. So you will say something like question mark, which is alt 168, and then the verb tuvo usted un carro el año. Have an issue with the keyboard that is repeating the sentences pasado. Alright, tuvo usted un carro el año pasado. Anyway, and then you would say, yes, I did. Sí, lo hice. Sí, yo tuve. O sí lo hice o sí lo tuve. Sí, sí lo tuve. Okay. So basically we don't use the auxiliaries. You will put the verb first most of the time. Sometimes they may change the sequence, the order, but they will have a special accent or sound to indicate there is a question. So you could say something like, let me see, ¿tiene usted un carro? Usted tiene un carro, meaning you have a car, but you will have a little question mark sound at the end. Usted tiene un carro, meaning you have a car, and then have a little sound of question mark, like you are indicating that it's actually a question, not an affirmative sentence, just by the sound at the end, indicating that it's actually a question. And then there are the imperative sentences, oraciones imperativas, when you are basically given an order or exclamating something. Stay there, quédese ahí, o quédate ahí. So this will be like more personal, quédate, meaning telling you in particular in single person instead of plural, but actually this is also singular, but this is more a little bit more respectful. And then you just say run, the exclamation part is only at the end, and in English and in Spanish you will have the beginning of the exclamation, so actually we indicate where the exclamation starts. So for example, if I say I am worried, I am whatever, I am scared, for example, and then I say something like run, but in here you'll say something like estoy preocupado, corra. You know what I'm saying? So we actually indicate where will the exclamation starts. Same for the questions. We start the questions with a beginning symbol for question, beginning symbol also for the exclamations. We use the N with a tilde in lowercase and uppercase as needed. So those are some of the symbols that are not used in the English language that you should be aware. So, son algunos de los símbolos que no se usan en el idioma inglés. So sentences will have a subject and predicate. For example, I wanted to talk about the to be, the verb to be. So you in English will say something like I am 21 years old, but in Spanish you don't say something like yo soy 21 years old. Because am in Spanish is soy o estoy, which is I am, or I mean am, or I am, yes, I am. But in Spanish you will use the word tengo, or tiene, meaning have. So basically the equivalent in Spanish will be yo tengo, which is I have. So in English, if you were to translate it, something like I have 21 years of age. That would be the kind of the equivalent in Spanish. You don't say I am, we say I have 21 years of age. That's the way you were going to say it in Spanish. So yo tengo, I have, whatever number of years of age, años de edad. And sometimes you don't say de edad, you just say 21 years. Yo tengo 21 años, 21 años. You don't have to say of age because it's understood that you're talking about age. So you don't have to actually specify años de edad. Years of age, you don't have to say that. Say another example, you owe me a lot of money. Usted me debe mucho dinero. It's just a regular affirmative sentence. And you write it pretty much the same in English and in Spanish. There is the verb, the to, the auxiliary for infinitive. So, as you know, in English you will have the to actually make the verb an infinitive. So you will say something like, I want to help. In Spanish you will say, yo quiero ayudar. So the AR will indicate that it's the verb in infinitive. There is no to or something before to indicate that there is no to in here before the verb, no equivalent there. You just change the verb so that it will end on AR. We also do not use the I so much as in English. If you see the sentence or paragraphs in English, you will see a lot of I's and U's and whatever. But in Spanish, you can omit, especially for the first person, I. You can just skip it and say quiero, meaning want to help. But the quiero is already explaining by the RO. That means that that this is a first person. So if you were a female, if you were a third person, such as he wants to help, in Spanish it will be él quiere ayudar. So basically this one is different than this one because quiero is for a single first person, and this is for the third person. So actually it's on O in here and it's on E on here. So it's different. And the same for female will be she wants to help, it will be ella quiere ayudar. Entonces él o ella it will be the same verb. But if it is plural, let's say they want to help, it will be ellos quieren, there will be an N, ayudar. So that way you are actually specifying plural by the end. You want to help usted. Usted quiere ayudar. So it changes. So actually this verb and the end changes depending on the subject. If it is you, me, or they, or them, or us. Here is where we're going to specify the subject, the pronoun. So, by this one, that's why it's so important to learn these ones, the verbs, the multiple number. If it is first person, second person, third person, or whatever, singular, or plural. So the verbs, some verbs tenses, son algunos tiempos de los verbos. There is the infinitive I was telling you about earlier, which in English are expressed by the to in front of the verb, but in Spanish we don't have any to or anything similar that we have before the verb. We just change the ending. So the verb to sing will end on AR, some other verbs will end on ER, and some other verbs will end on IR. So depending on the verb, let's say another one, for example, eat, to eat, it would be comer. So it ends on ER, this is Microsoft Word. I still use it. It's a 2010 version. I think I put a 2016 version on it, but I haven't had the need. I use multiple word processors, and this is one of the ones I use. Help, I was telling people in Spanish that help is a noun, but it can also be a verb. So you can see something like help me. So in Spanish would be ayúdeme. Here's the tilde on the U. So basically the tildes are only used for the what's the word, for the vowels only in Spanish. And that's what you will stress the sound, so it'll be ayúdeme. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes there's no tilde, but it will be a stress sound anyway, but not as strong. When it has a tilde, it's because the stress in the sound is even stronger. Okay? So now main verb tenses. So main tenses. So the present time, I call, meaning yo llamo. I call you, or I call 5 times a day. So yo llamo, yo te llamo, o yo llamo 5 veces al día. Past tense will be I called. Okay, in Spanish will be yo llamé. So they will have a tilde at the end. So the tenses, you should be basically learning the tenses in the verbs, and that will be quite a bit taking care of the language by learning the tenses in multiple first person, second person, things like that, and that helps a lot. And then the rest will be mainly learning vocabulary. I go to the hospital once a year. Yo voy al hospital una vez al año. Yo voy al hospital. It was the same, but it sounds different. Una vez al año. Here's the tilde. Oops, right twice. I went to the hospital yesterday. Yo fui. Here the verb also changes in Spanish. So it'll be yo fui al hospital ayer, meaning yesterday. So yo fui, here's the verb changing. It's the same in English and in Spanish. It goes from present time, and here in this past time, so it will be yo fui. And today will be like al or al. You can say al or al, whichever way you prefer. Future tense, I will call you tomorrow, then yo te llamaré, because this will be, you will be substituted by te. Yo te llamaré. Here is indicating basically a future tense, and this one will indicate past tense. So depending, llamaré, meaning future llamaré, or llamé. Llamé will be past tense, so that's why you will need to learn the tenses in the verbs. Very important in Spanish. Other examples is I go to the hospital every day, so it will be yo voy al hospital todos los días. So this will be every day, todos los días. Yo voy al hospital, al supermercado, supermarket every day, but you can say hospital or whatever here. I go to the hospital, I go to the grocery store every day. Yo voy al whatever, todos los días. Okay, so that's another example. Another thing that we use a lot in English is I am going to. For example, I'm going to eat this cake tonight. So in Spanish would be yo me voy a comer esta torta esta noche. So I am going to, yo me voy a. Yo me voy a. And then the verb a comer. Here's the infinitive, comer this cake tonight. I would call you, or I will call you. This one is I would. I will call you tonight or tomorrow. Sería yo te llamaría. Here's again a verb. This one will be llamaría, which is the will call. I will call it llamaría. I don't know. Esta noche o mañana. Important words that to use in sentences. Palabras importantes para usar en las oraciones. So I was telling you about would, que es basically sería. It's like a subjunctive. So I will do it if you let me. So yo lo haría. Here's the haría. The RIA indicating the similar thing to would. And then the verb to be, haría. So I will do it. So this is basically would do it will be haría if you let me. Sí, meaning if you, me deja, let me. So it will be the me first and then the let after. So let me. So sometimes where the me will be before. In Spanish it will be first the me and then the let. So it's pretty much like saying I will do it if you me let. So it's kind of backwards in here. Me let. Will to indicate future, such as será, meaning will be. So I will make the table this week, meaning manufacture. You could say anything manufacture. But basically I will manufacture the table this week. Yo fabricaré la mesa esta semana. Tilde is future. I'm telling future with this E. Fabricar, fabricaré, that would be future. Should, which is similar to debería, which is advisable that you should do it. So I should think about, I should think about it even further. So this is a little more complicated sentence. I'm just saying yo debería, I should think, that's pensar. Basically it would be like a present tense, and this is not be infinitive. It will be like present pretty much, but yes, it can be also be considered infinitive. About, acerca de eso, about it, even further, aún más. Should I eat this? Debería, again, debería. Yo comer esto. Here is the symbol at the beginning, not in the English language. Symbol at the end. Okay. This is the opening question mark, the closing question mark. I'm putting the parentheses so kind of separate the English from the Spanish. I should eat this later. Yo debería comer esto más tarde. Later would be más tarde. So there's a lot more accents in the Spanish language. You see debería has an accent, más tarde has an accent, and that kind of makes it complicated because there are a lot of accents in the Spanish language. That kind of makes it a little more hard to type or write, because then you need to remember if it has an accent or not. But it doesn't, even if you don't put it in there, it's not going to kill it. They will still understand. You know, it's forgiving. The Spanish language is very forgiving, even in the pronunciation and even on the writing, because even though it's wrong, you could pay debería without a tilde, and they would understand it. Same here. So a lot of people make mistakes with the accents, but it's not going to be. It's not going to kill the understanding. Even for the pronunciation, if you pronounce wrong, most of the time they will understand. Not so in English. Sometimes in English, if you mispronounce a little bit different, they don't really understand what you're saying. In Spanish is a lot more forgiving. Another sentence: I should eat this. And actually, this is I should not. So here is I should not. Entonces, then you will see that the yo no debería is the sequence is a little different, because the debería, this is basically writing down something like I not should eat this. Is basically how you write it in Spanish. I not should eat this. And I think it makes more sense to do it the way it's done in English, but that's the way it's done in Spanish. But even if you do it backwards, they probably will understand you. So if I write something, if I say something in Spanish like this, I debería no, debería, this repeats debería no comer, esto. I debería no comer esto, they still understand. You know what I'm saying? So even if you put it backwards, the way it's in English, they will still understand what you're talking about. It's just that it's not correct. The auxiliary do. In English it's used as auxiliary, and it's also can mean, yes, it's an auxiliary and can also mean do. But in English you will say something like, do you like it? In Spanish you don't need to specify the you. You can just say te, meaning referring you. So it's something it's like saying you like. So there's no do on it, there's no auxiliary. You will say something you like, and then you put the little accent like in the sound, meaning that is a question. So instead of saying you can say something like you like apples, that would be an affirmative sentence. If you want to say it in a question mark, you will say you make a sound. So we'll say something like you like apples, then you will have this sound, the question mark at the end. You like apples? ¿Te gustan las manzanas? We'll have a little accent at the end, like a question mark at the end in the sound. Or you can say something like to you. It's like you like it. So this is basically like to you. It's another way to say it in Spanish. ¿Le gusta a usted o te gusta? So te gusta o le gusta a usted. So it's to you. This is to you basically. And this is le is something like to you. So it's kind of repetitive here, but it's not this exact meaning. So it's basically it is of your liking very much. What this will mean. I do homework every night. Yo hago tareas todas las noches. So this will be replacing the verb to do. So I do homework every night. So this will be todas las noches, will be every night. So it's similar to English, pretty much, just that it doesn't have this will replace the do. So meaning hago in first person for the I. So I do homework every night. So same, pretty much. So remember that gender and the number is more difficult to be detected in the English language. Here again, the tilde repeated by itself. Because a lot of times it's not specified in some sentences. So in English they don't specify the gender or the number in some of the sentences. Okay, so that kind of makes it difficult for Spanish people when they're trying to learn English. So let's say people think that it's easy to do. La gente piensa que es fácil de hacer. Actually, this is maybe not a good sample because it doesn't really specify. Well, people will be la gente, so it will be a plural. La gente, and it still will be singular in Spanish. So because it's kind of a global word, but even though it mentions multiple people, it's considered a single word. But if you put personas, las personas, that's same as in English. Las personas piensan, there will be an N. That will be a plural. That means las personas, meaning the people. Here is the people. That's plural. Then it will have an N at the end of the verb. The people think that there is no it, like in English. So we just say is. So people think that is easy to do. There will not be an it. So sometimes some things are already assumed by the rest of the words. So instead of saying it, some kind of replacement, it es fácil, there is no it. So it's just, las personas piensan que es fácil de hacer. Okay. So to do will be basically, here we'll have a de, kind of a, this will be a little bit a helper word to kind of combine this verb with the rest of the sentence. Let's see this example. This book was found here, there. Este libro fue encontrado allá. So there's, you can say here, there, whatever the location. You know what I'm saying? Same thing like in English. Este libro fue encontrado allá. Okay. Here's a plural. There were 2 books that were not found. Hubo 2 libros que no fueron encontrados. I was using hubiera o hubieron, but they use hubo. They're doing that for plural, hubo. Even though to me it should be for singular, but they use it for plural also. So I think that is something that I kind of I had a misconception for many years that I thought it would be hubieron, but for some reason they changed that and now they use hubo. Forever they use hubo. 2 books hubieron 2 libros que that no fueron, no fueron encontrados, plural, because it's an S in here because it's plural in here. So encontrados, we have an S at the end. Another sentence, one is mine and the other is yours. Uno es mío y el otro es tuyo. Okay, so here we are kind of specifying with the mine and yours, same thing pretty much, but in Spanish, mío y tuyo. You can also substitute it with suyo. It's pretty much meaning the same, but tuyo is more kind of personal, much closer, and when you're closer to the person you're speaking with. I prefer to use suyo unless I want to specify the number if it is first person or third person, because suyo could be either one in general more often. So if I really want to specify first person, you, then I would use tuyo. Another example, I think it's kind of long already, the video, hopefully you don't mind, maybe you can pause it. Our books came from the bookstore, not from the library. We bought them yesterday. Nuestros libros vinieron de la tienda de libros, I would call it like that, tienda de libros for the bookstore, not from the library, not de la biblioteca. So they will be pretty much meaning from. Nosotros los compramos ayer. We bought them yesterday. So nuestros libros vinieron de la tienda de libros, no de la biblioteca. Nosotros los compramos ayer, yesterday, meaning yesterday. Ayer meaning yesterday. That's the way it means. That's what it means. These chairs are all broken. Todas estas sillas están, puede ser rotas o dañadas. You can see rotas. Oops, rotas o dañadas, whichever way you want to say it. Damaged. This is basically meaning damaged. Rotas is broken, pretty much. So you may change it to rotas. This desk is old. Este escritorio es viejo. My doctor gave me a list of prescription medicines. Mi doctor, here we are not, in English we don't specify male or female, but in Spanish we do specify. So my doctor, mi doctor o doctora, me dio una lista de remedios de prescripción. So if it is Spanish, you will write an A on it. So if it is a female, so here actually we are specifying the list of prescription medicines. So for example, if in English the paragraph continues, maybe later on is when I will find out, or earlier on I will find out the gender. So in Spanish, in English will be maybe later on you will say something like, she told me that I should take the blood pressure medicine once a day. So here we actually I am actually finding out the gender of the doctor. While in Spanish you would learn that firsthand. So if it says doctor, I will assume that it's male, even though sometimes even when we don't specify, it may be male or female. But if we write the A meaning female, then I am not for sure that it's a female doctor. So sometimes when I'm interpreting, translating or anything, I will actually say female doctor in here in Spanish. So I will say, in English, to actually specify that the lady who told me something in Spanish is actually telling me that it's a female doctor. So I will actually add the word female to the English sentence to kind of specify from the beginning. Does is another auxiliary that it could mean to do. Make is manufacture, you know that. So if I say something like I make furniture, is I make muebles, yo hago muebles. Yo hago muebles, I make furniture. Does he make furniture? I don't know how long it takes to make a chair. So in Spanish it will be hace él. Question mark in here again. The beginning. Hace. Like he is going to be repeating the tilde. Once I type something, it will repeat it. So I need to fix that in the computer. Hace él muebles. And then to say yo no sé. He is going to repeat as soon as I write something, it will repeat. Yo no sé cómo. No, aquí is how long will be. How is como, meaning how. But how long is going to be cuánto tiempo. Cuánto tiempo toma hacer una silla. So here it says, hace él muebles. Does he make furniture? Yo no sé, I don't know. Cuánto tiempo, meaning how long in time. It takes, Thomas, it takes. There's no it in here, there's no, it will be just the word takes. I don't know how long takes. There's no it. How long takes to make a chair. Una, here is female, indicating that silla is a female noun in Spanish. So it will be una. So if you say un silla, then you are actually letting people know that you don't know Spanish well, because you are not differentiating the gender. Hopefully in English one day they are going to make it more similar to Spanish. I don't think they're going to do it, but it will be wishful that in the future languages kind of get closer into the way the sentences are written, so the translations are easier. I have seen people starting to use the kind of double gender. So for example, let's find a word that is, so instead of saying silla as a female, maybe in the future they're going to say CJ, meaning both, you know, or maybe we'll have an X on it, but it's going to be CJ meaning male or female. So I think they're doing that especially for when referring to people. You know, say for example, instead of saying presidente, presidente or presidenta, maybe in the future they're going to start saying something like president, something like that, the presidentes, because the presidente is that. So it's going to be like maybe EX, meaning that is meaning both English and male and female. So maybe in the future they're going to start doing this, adding a kind of changing the ending, so indicating male and female. So remember, the predicate will be the ending of a sentence. So if I say I am very rich, so the predicate will be the subject will be I am, I, and the rest will be the predicate. And some sentences have some extra stuff that was basically complements the sentence. All right, so that's basically what I wanted to tell you about the language. You will notice something advantageous in here. I think it's because another software is affecting. It's a bug in there someplace. I wanted to tell you about, remember to have an antivirus in your computer. The IOD malware file, I've used it for several years, but I don't think it never finds anything. But I use other stuff. The malware fighters, Bitdefender seems pretty good. I have it in some computers. I have multiple computers, If you need to change the settings and the sound in the computer, you can go to the settings in the computer, change the sound, the display, whatever you want to change in there. Just go to the settings and fix it if you want to. If the volume is too low in your computer, you can use the, for example, boom. But I think lately has been having like bugs. That sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work, and then you try to adjust the sound and it doesn't do that, it doesn't make a sound. So maybe some new bugs on it. So let me just go back to the browser and kind of finalize because it's kind of long now. So remember to do the translator in Microsoft, the language. Remember to visit my website if you want to help me make it promoted. Remember about the screen capture that you can use DocLink. I have used it for several years. I recommend visiting technology websites such as MIT Technology Review. You can visit Wikipedia for learning different subjects. I like calculus. It's kind of one of my things that I like to learn more about. If you need to download software, just be careful. There's a lot of spyware and things like that. FilePuma is a place that I have from where I have downloaded some software. I use Glare Utilities, even though in the past it was said that it was affected by some kind of intrusion. I prefer other browsers instead of Google Chrome, but it has become kind of the default for most people. You may find a better software for that. I'm currently learning more programming languages. I'm currently learning Python again because I kind of left it up in the air. If you need some PC support, you may use TeamViewer with care, because if you give out your password, they can have access to your computer during the time that it's connected to your computer. This is for PC support, but once the session is ended, you should close the TeamViewer, not leave it open. So video VLC media player is pretty good. You can learn different things, math, things like that. I just downloaded this one, Babel Pad. It has special symbols, emoticons and everything. It seems pretty good. I am getting a sore throat now from so much talking. The CesarUSA website has there's a link in the main homepage that will take you to the useful links, where you have links to multiple pages that may be useful to you, such as the WhatsApp web that will give you access to WhatsApp on your computer. You may need to scan the code with your cell phone to give access to your computer. Google Maps, there is Gmail, Hotmail, Instagram. All the links are, well, not all, but quite a bit of links are there already. Even all links are there. So it's pretty much it. This one is actually a pretty old web page. And this is details about the video that I just made. This is another video that I made, but in Spanish. So I do have a channel called CesarUSA.com. I do like to watch programming videos. So you want to look for more videos, you can just visit the CUSAINT channel, or you can search for Cesar PXXX. It's not a porn. It's another channel that I have. I do have what is called humanitarian assistance page, where you can actually kind of read more about it, but it's basically telling you about some things that we do, which is help children who are suffering hunger, that living in unsafe, dangerous conditions, families that are in trouble, financially especially, or even health, elderly people, very for people with children, unemployed, who need to find a job but they can't get it because they are either disabled or sick or too old or too young. So we try to help as many people as we can, but we can't help everyone. So that's why we seek for more people who want to contribute. It could be contribute to them directly. You don't have to send money to us. It could be volunteering, you name it. So let us know if you want to help. All right? So thank you for watching. Hope you don't mind that it was so long. And have a good day or night. Take care. Goodbye.